Hello, welcome to Harlan Sweet's Lorcana YouTube channel, and I've got a very good friend here. And I was trying to remember the first time as well I talked to you, and it was back in, I think I can mention Pixelborn. It was back in Pixelborn, and we were like always playing at like the top 25 sort of ladder, and it was like a name I just didn't want to queue into. But most of you might know this is JDRR, and he is sort of the purple steel Blurple goat, and runs the flower farm. May not see him at like many events, but I think his impact in the community is just known. Like I always go to store champs and someone's like, "Oh yeah, I picked up the JDR list and got top 4, got first or something," which is always mad to see. And yeah, I got to have a little look around the flower farm Discord as well, and it's really awesome to it's kind of like the way I'm not going to complain about 20 law, but it's gone a bit nasty in there sometimes. So like when I go on the flower farm, it's really nice to see it's this like old school way, and everyone's being quite productive at helping each other. But yeah, if you want to introduce yourself or say hello.
Oh, well, first of all, Adam, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on your channel. And for those who don't know, like Adam said, I'm JDR, or most people or most of my friends will call me John. Um, and most of you might know me for Blurple or Purple Steel, one or the other. Some people might have not ever heard of me before, and that's okay too. Um, but yeah, and like I've been playing this game since day one. Um,
Mm.
like literally since I don't know if you remember, Adam, but I think it was like 2 years ago in 2023, sometime in the summer, I would see like ads for Lorcana.
Mm.
And that's kind of what like interested me about the game. First, I'm like, oh look, a Disney trading card game. Like that's kind of interesting because at the time, like I was in a lull with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! I didn't really want to play it anymore.
Mm.
So I had like an itch to play something else. And that's where Lorcana came up. Um, and yeah, like you said, like back in the Pixel 4 days. And I think the first time I spoke to you was like we're both trying to push for a Grandmaster, I
Mm.
believe. And you're like, oh yeah, just play hyper aggro. Like that was the first time I think hyper aggro was like a strategy at the time. Like
Yeah.
yellow purple with like the 2 cost Pinocchio that quest for 3.
Yes, yeah. I remember
Yeah,
the first time
yeah,
we all sort of, because we're all in the SLTC, we're all in our testing group, and I remember the first time
yeah,
you got the Grandmaster rank was the red purple aggro deck with Fan the Flames. If this is
yeah,
like a
that's right.
massive nostalgia trip for anyone, like that was awesome. I mean, you just got like a good 5 matchups in a row, and you would just farm it into the top cut, and then you'd
Yeah,
have to swap deck if you keep seeing the bad matchups. But yeah,
yeah.
no, I love those days back then. I don't know if the community was smaller, but it just felt a lot more tighter back then.
Yeah, definitely, I would say so.
Mm.
Kind of like we said earlier, right? This community was smaller, and like Flower Farm kind of reminds you of the old 20 lore when the community was a lot smaller
Mm.
and tighter knit, and everyone was kind of supportive and helping each other.
Yeah, that amazing feeling when you'd
Yeah.
watch like one of the. This is for anyone who's been around since like pre DLC days. Like you'd watch the Thea Beastie events on Twitch, and then you'd just go to 20 Law General Chat, and it would just be people like flaming who'd won or flaming who'd lost for misplaying, and it was like this big sort of discussion in there. I mean, it's awesome to see the community grow bigger as well. But yeah, just you look fondly at those back at those days.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite memories that I have of you was when you were playing in the Thea Beastie tournament and you were playing Green Steel in set 3.
Mm.
And remember, we're all cheering you on,
Oh yeah,
and your
yeah.
chat would blow up literally after every match win.
Oh, I love. I do love that feeling, and yeah, I've had that other events as well. Like whenever I manage to get on stream and I win or lose, and then you check your phone and it's like 20 missed messages or something. But
Yeah.
I remember that Green Steel one, yeah, and that was Dave Attack for Two, who also had on this channel before. Just took one of
Yeah.
his lists, and I was like, I'll pay the $10 or whatever it took to enter that event. That was really
Yeah.
good fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
I thought I'd get you on the channel because recently I found my love for Blurple, and the way I've described it, of course, you know very much for your Purple Steel as well, but we're probably going to be talking mainly about Blurple here. The way I've described it is, of course, since the Hiram and Fortosphere bans happened, I remember a lot of the Sapphire Steel tryhards and diehards went over to Blurple, and a lot of them told me to do it, and I just basically didn't do it for ages. I picked it
Mhm.
up, and it does. It feels kind of like the way that Sapphire Steel used to feel to me.
Mm,
None of your matchups are handed to you. You get to do all the fun ramping. I think it has crept into being one of the most popular decks around, but for a while it's just felt
mhm,
like that meta on the fringe tier 2, tier 0.15 like deck.
mm,
So yeah, I've really been enjoying it, and I'll probably see the set out with it. Of course, we don't know what
mm,
happened post rotation, but
mhm.
I've always known you as the purple steel Blurple guy. Even back in the day, where Blurple would play Mickey on 3 and sing Friends, so
Yeah.
like local players are like, "Oh, this line is just nuts," and it's like, yeah, it's not bad. But now that you've got Bell turn one singing Friends, it's awesome. But yeah, why do you
Yeah.
sort of gravitate to these sort of decks?
Um, well, naturally for myself in any game, I don't like and I don't. It's not that I don't like it. I prefer not to play the best deck or the tier one decks,
Mm,
supposedly. I like kind of the more underdog, more tier two, 1.5 rogue kind of decks. Maybe it was partly due to my background in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because if you played the top meta decks, you always get hit by the ban list. So you're
yeah.
always buying, looking for a new deck, right? So maybe partly subconsciously, that's one of the reasons why I gravitate more towards those decks. But I also find a lot more fulfillment and enjoyment winning with a deck that is more under the radar than what is meta.
Mm.
I
No,
don't know if you
I completely agree,
can
and that was
relate to that.
I think
Yeah.
that was for a while why I stood on Sapphire Steel, because it was
Mm,
this deck that was getting top cuts and there was very like prolific players using it, but it clearly wasn't the best deck. I
mm.
think even Dave described it as a very tier two deck that just has a good matchup into RP, and I think that's what kept it alive for so long. But yeah, I found the same with Blurple. It's very much in the main stage right now, but it still has some really harsh matchups, which I think,
Yeah.
you know, if Steel Song was just a bit more relevant, it seems to be going under the radar because people like red blue, I guess.
Yeah.
And some of the discard, like yellow green, you know, you just have no interaction with Ward or anything
Yeah.
like that. But it's been
Yeah.
good to pick up. And what I found interesting is I picked up your lists because if you go on Dreamborn, it's like your list is always top. Um,
Mm.
and it was a two liner, like 4x cards. And I thought, oh, this is like Blurple is set, you know, the template is set. And I did
Mm.
fairly well with it, Axion. I came back and then people were like, oh, I just don't like the Blurple isn't really a set list. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, it's almost, it's besides like two cards, it's pretty much figured out in my opinion. And then they show me their like
Yeah.
Keto-Ratigan build, which
Uh,
I think is really cool. But do you find that like Blurple is sort of settled where it is? Like, because I very much like your list. It's very consistent in what it does.
mm. I think at this point in set eight, it's been pretty settled.
Mm,
So a little bit of context for the Keto-Ratigan list. So at the beginning of set, before set eight came about, right? And they're kind of doing all the card releases for set eight. We saw Beyond the Horizon,
mm.
and in
Oh
SLTC,
yeah.
everyone was like, "Well, this is going to be terrible if you pair it with Green Steel, right?" And then, of course, Ray has to go and, dumpster and everybody in the internal tournaments with Beyond the Horizon, and everyone's kind of freaking out about it. So then I was like, okay, well, set hasn't started yet, but I'm like, how can I still play Blurple and counter Green Steel Beyond the Horizon? And so I was like, well, first card, I was like, Kita, to play right into Kita, because Green Steel can't really interact with it.
Mm.
Um, if they sing with Ursula 3, so let's just say you're on the draw. Turn 3, they play Ursula 3, and then you on the draw, you play Kita. If they sing with Ursula, well, yeah, you get discarded, but your hand's still pretty full. You can hit the Ursula with the Kita, and then you can bell the damage onto the Diablo right after, and
Mm,
then that
yeah.
just breaks everything, right? So it's just like they're kind of stuck and they can't sing, or they shouldn't sing in that position. And then if they don't sing, or if you're on the play with Nikita, you can just turn her sideways and ramp into green steel, because what are they attacking you with? Ursula, Diablo, Prince John? Like, they're never going to do that,
Mm. Yeah.
right? So I'm like, okay, for sure, I'm going to get like um, some triggers off Kita to ramp bigger. And then I was like, with Beyond the Horizon, like, how do you beat that deck? You don't draw cards anymore. Like, you don't just have a big hand that they can't discard. You have to play more off the top. So like we got to ramp faster to your bombs at the top end, right? So that's why I was like, all right, well, not Keto, Ratigan was also a thing. I was like, well, this thing is huge. It's 6/7, it's ward. Like, there's no way Green Steel can get rid of this card once you drop it. And if they can't get rid of Kita, you can just keep tapping Kita to keep the cost up. Oh, that's my son. Hi.
Oh,
I don't know if you saw him like quickly
I
pop
did
on the
just
screen
pop
there.
in, yeah. Oh.
Just like a little head popping. But yeah, so then with Ratigan, it's just they can't get rid of it, and you're always able to trigger it every turn. So then you just kind of win. And so in the early testing, I think I won like 80% of the games against Green Steel with that build.
Mm.
So that's kind of how that list started. And then one of the people in the flower farm took it to a tournament, like one of the week one tournaments, and he got second, I believe. I think, with that specific list.
Mm.
And then that was on Inkdex. And then, when it's on Inkdex, everyone kind of took it over. Also, Hayes, Mikey, I'm not sure if you heard of him from Florida. He's also like a Blurple, like diehard
Oh, okay.
that only plays Blurple. Yeah, so he's also part of Flower Farm, but he took the list to SSG and he top 16 with it, I believe, week one. So then that's when everyone was like, oh, there's a new way to play Blurple. There's the Keto-Ratigan version. And then we also have our more traditional one with, the Metamims and
Yeah.
Merlins.
Yeah, which was the completely the way. And when I saw the Keto one, I've looked at Keto, but not the Ratigan. And I just thought you're playing this against Amber Steel, you slap it on 4, then you Elsa, and they can't, you're going to remove that aerial. But then someone said, no, it's for the discard because you're not going to hurt your hand. And then you say you can just slap down the giant Ratigan. Which, yeah, I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was cool. I thought like matchup spread wise, maybe I don't like it as much as what I'm referring to as your standard build. I'd imagine it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
exactly.
doesn't always work. And yeah, Keita does have to exert to be used, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Which is why it's not very good in Amber Steel, in my opinion, because you just get Rapunzel trapped all the time, right? But into Green Steel, that's why I was like, specifically, if you're playing Green Steel or an item deck, these two would work because you can't coil Sisu, coil on Under the Sea, all the award characters.
Yeah. No, the more it's described to me, I do like it. I think over the weekend, the only thing I swapped between was I put crabs in to begin with, and that was generally because I hadn't used the 6-cost Anna before. And I was like, I'm not playing a card I've
It's
never
totally
used
understandable.
before.
We talked about this
Yeah,
before the event
it's
too.
completely not using a card I never played before. And then I did that, and I was like, that crab might as well have been the 6-cost Anna because it was either ink majority of the time or like sometimes you just want to slam a big bomb on the board, like, and the crab really wasn't it. But I think that's an interesting to talk about because I see that debated a lot as well. Like, one of our friends said they wanted to play Blurple over the weekend because there's a big event in Italy. And the first thing they said was, "Why is there no crabs? I can't play without them." It's like, no, you don't. You just ramp on 2 and play the value game from there. And it's just you're playing a genie on 3, you're playing Bell on 4. But yeah, like I've noticed you've cut crabs from pretty much everything. What's the opinion on crabs and
Well,
Blurple?
there's a reason for that.
Merlin Crab, by the way, I'm talking about. If anyone out
there. Yeah, Merlin Crab. I think it's hard for anyone who's like played Purple forever to part ways with Crab just because it's so integral to the deck functioning. But the difference with Purple is that you don't play 1-drops, right? What makes Crab really good is like you can trade up with all your 1-drops. But if Blurple doesn't have any 1-drops, like what are you trading up with? Right? Because like most of the time it's like, okay, you have Iago on the board, you have Genie, maybe the 3-cost Bell, right? And so like when are you playing Crab? Are you playing with 5 ink? That's just like leaving 2 ink floating, right? That doesn't feel very good either. So then like Crab became one of the best plays at 8 ink when you can play Elsa alongside Crab and hit something for 5. But it's just like, are we playing Crab just for that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like most of the time, Bell will deal with what you need Crab for. Because I've kind of explained to other people that were learning the deck before is that like if you play around Crab, you kind of play around Bell at the same time. Like because they function in a very similar way, right? And so with Blurple having like all these big bodies, right? More than likely, your thing will live after it attacks something. Then you can bell the damage off and then clean up, right? So that's why, like you said, like it's ink most of the time, and that's why we didn't. I kind of went away from Crab in this list because it was just not doing enough. And it's just like I feel the power level of the deck lowers the more of these like 3-cost value things you put in because there's nothing to get value out of. Versus, like you said, you play like a big bomb. It's like you just get more value out of it because you are a blue deck, right? You should be playing bigger things.
Yeah, it was interesting because the first time I ever looked at it, I remember I said I can't believe we're going to a set where the like one viable deck that can play Bell Porp is Blurple. I remember that was like upsetting me for so long that it was like, oh, after this amazing set 7 release, the bans happen and the only deck that plays it is Bell is Blurple. But I thought because the lack of the 1-drops or the lack of really turn 2 from turn 1 and turn 2 you don't really apply any pressure. I was always worried that I would just lose to aggro, like and to be honest with you, major events locally, let's be honest, there's always someone who's going to be there on aggro. Sometimes it's even me. And I was picking up Amber Steel aggro, and I was like, this deck's got to be the best deck in format. And I practiced lots against Fumbles, against our friend. And it was like he was beating me very consistently. And even my games on the play were like very hard fought. Because sometimes it's not even just the bell, it's like playing a genie, hitting it, Elsa moving damage over. Like if you run the genie into a Smee, move the 3 damage to a Rhino. They might have got to like 11, 6, 8 lore, whatever it is, but you've lost all your steam, all your momentum, and they've got 2 questers. So like, and they can just turn the corner on you because their removals are character based. So it's like, as I'm removing your things, I'm littering the board with 2 questers. And that was another reason why I swapped to it, because I thought, how is, Amber Steel aggro, this Rhino deck, everyone's scared of it, but I'm not being able to get a game past it on Blurple. So it's surprising to me how effective it is against aggro or very low to the ground decks, even Purple Steel as well, when it doesn't run that much early game either, which is just amazing.
Yeah, I think it's more like so like all the dock decks, like they gas out very easily, right? If you don't get multiple docks. Like Purple Steel is a little different because they can just dock into a bounce and then just dock again. So they have like 12 docks in the deck. But like Amber Steel specifically, right? What we found was that if they shift Rhino on turn 2, yes, it's very annoying. Like you can't really deal with it, but they're not going very fast. Like you're just questing for 2 with one thing for 2 turns. And then the bigger issue was like getting your genie stormed on turn 3. So if they go like 3 1-drops or even curve out and then sing strength with Cindy, take out the genie, and then you're kind of screwed, right? But if they take the more aggro lines, they're not singing anything. Then you're able to keep characters and stick on the board. That's when you, like you said, you can use Bell, you can use Elsa, start breaking parity, and start coming back, right?
Yeah. I'm really enjoying the deck for that, and I think as well when they like double dock, in my head it's always I don't know what deck could beat this. If they dock into like Smee dock, like it's like there's nothing really that beats that. That's just really good tempoing from them. But what was I going to mention about? When I played it over the weekend, like I said, I had played it a couple times before like locals and stuff like that, and I think I played it into Fumbles once and just complained about how I don't have any steel removal. But after I got over that, I picked it up again, and I just really like that it's probably one of the most fair decks. I mean, Bell Singing Friends is pretty good, but in full, clarity, it's not the thing that wins you the game. But just that the entire deck is like playing the fundamentals of Lorcana. You can still lose to like whole new world spamming and stuff like that, but I feel like if you have a good understanding of the game, understand mechanics and like trades and good value, you can end up just winning quite a lot of your matchups on that. Even things that I felt I was unfavored in, or like as I hadn't played enough matchups with it, just going into each one and going, right, they've Diablo me turn 1, this is probably green, purple, or green steel. How do I want to do this? And it was preparing for those Beyond the Horizon turns. It was always keep 3 cards in my hand, but one of them is like finders keepers, so they can't really be on the horizon me, and I can always draw cards if they do sudden chills, and it's it's just like learning all those little things, and I really liked it for that.
Hmm.
Because I'd played for so long, I'd played aggro. After one of
Hmm.
my games, I got to like 8 or 9 ink, and I was like, I forgot that Lorcana went on for this long. I forgot like what people are doing in these later turns of the game, and like seeing all these
Yeah.
cards again. But yeah, I think it's really one of the strongest decks to pick right now. I found maybe Ruby Amethyst Shark to be fairly hard to play into. I don't know if
Mm.
I'd call it unwinnable, but just with Peter Pan being so
Mm.
awkward to remove for Blurple, I do
Mm.
feel a little unfavored into that one.
Right. So last set 7, I think that the Blurple was favored into red purple
Mm.
evasives. But what really changed the set was the dual cost, dual ink Hades,
Yes, yeah,
the 7 cost, right? So like basically it's like Hiram, right? But
yeah.
stronger, it's
It
essentially.
pretty
And
much
like
is, isn't it? Yeah.
right, because like now before like you can outgrind them because you played Tamatoa, Popsicle, Friends, FK, which they also did, right? But our card draw was relatively even. But then we also ran like the Gastons and things last set. So we just had more cards, more pressure. But now they have the Hades, which two things that make it very annoying. Yes, it draws cards, so they can grind better than you. And the second thing is that if you don't remove it, they can just sing B prep with it. So like they play
Mm.
library, move their stuff in, sing B prep, clear your board. Um, and then it's like, what do you do
Yeah.
at that point? Like you can't play the value game against red purple evasives if they're running that kind of version because they will always win the long game.
Yeah, yeah. I hadn't really thought about it too much, and yeah, it is. It's just those huge bodies, and I think you don't want to play your Hades on their Hades. I also found in that matchup, you never really want to play Hades on their Sharks. It always feels like you want to
Yeah,
find other answers.
yeah, yeah. Like ramping red purple always felt bad. Like even when you
Mm.
were playing blue steel back in set 3, like when you let it go, if well, there was a time where we were running let it go in set 3 and some Zeus, right? And if
Mm.
you ramped red purple, you're like, this just feels so bad because the reason why red purple does struggle is that it is generally a bit slow out the gate
Mm.
because they can't ramp, right? They're just trying to get to 7 and like survive. Um, so if you ramp them, it's just like they're getting to their key turns earlier,
Yeah, yeah,
right? And getting like red purple, if they get to 11, it's a really bad place to be. Well, for the shark deck, it starts at 9 instead of 11 because now they have Peter Pan Shark at
yes,
9.
yeah,
At 11, it's like they can be prep location and then just keep prepping and dropping location. It just feels terrible.
yeah.
So
The scenario I always found myself in playing that matchup is, if they get Peter Pan into Iago or something and they control the board early, and then you get to those later stages where you both have 9, 10, 11 ink, and it's like, well, now we're
yeah,
playing this resource war, but you can just do much better things. Like you can brawl, you control when the board is like alive or not with Be Prepared. You can slam
right,
locations down. Your threats are
right,
generally better than mine, like Shark and Hades.
right,
Um,
right,
so
right.
yeah, I found that one quite awkward, and I think I remember
Yeah.
messaging you in the chat or someone, and I said like, "Did you guys lie to me? It seems like Blurple has bad matchups," because because I was told it's like this, like it's this really fair deck. And to be fair, the loss doesn't feel, unwinnable. It doesn't feel like there's no way into that matchup. It does feel unfavored. The deck, in my opinion, feels like the way Ruby Amethyst felt for 4 or 5 sets back in like set 2 onwards, where it just had a
Mm-hmm.
pretty decent matchup spread. It never went below 40%,
Yep,
never went above 60%.
yep,
So yeah,
yep.
I really like it for all those features. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a deck that has very flat matchup spreads, like you said. Like you have game into most decks,
Mm.
apart from Amber Steel, like wheel decks, right? But apart from that, the whole New World decks, like there's not much else. Well, okay, like the item decks, yeah, you can struggle into. Um, green yellow discard, yeah, you can struggle into. But like for the most part, the deck has a fairly even matchup spread all across the board.
Yeah.
And I think we saw it on the ink deck charts when they go through every color, like the matchups and how like the win percentage
Oh, cool. Yeah.
into each thing. Right. Yeah, yeah. And I think like Blurple was like 50% to everything except for Amber Steel.
Yeah.
This was last set.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It can't
yeah.
beat everything. I mean, I remember I picked up once, played at locals, and I couldn't beat any deck that had Prince John in it. And then I've since learned that
Yeah,
you just, even if they're getting, 1-for-1 off sudden chills, you just end up
you don't
drawing
care.
way more. Yeah, you just play finders
Yeah,
keepers, Toa, and like you just
yeah,
out resource them anyway. It costs them
right,
so much to
right,
do their
right,
discard, and you just draw more the next turn.
right,
And
right,
it's
right.
interesting, like because its matchup spread is so good, and it's such a strong deck. Like I'm going to play an event in Italy this weekend, and Italy, I don't know if
Mm.
you know this, being over in NA in Canada, but um, Italy is famed for being the Amber Steel like haven.
Yes,
They
yes,
love it. When I played it there, I think I played a Law League and I played 8 or 9 rounds, and 5 of them were Amber Steel, and they were all
right.
like different variants. So I asked one of our Italian friends, like, look, is there even any point bringing Blurple there? But yeah, I think there still is, because you'll play against the wheel decks. Hopefully, out of the 2 games,
Mhm.
they might brick, and you should be fine. And it's a 2 game
Right,
format. I know this format's being
right.
retired soon, but sadly, I have to play it one more time. Um,
Yeah.
but you hopefully hope they brick there. I think Amber Steel aggro is a matchup that I have consistently got 2-0s in.
Mm,
Ruby Sapphire Shark, you can 2-0. I found Workshop on the draw is fairly rough, but you're only
yes,
aiming to hit a handful of 2-0 matchups, and then you can at least split with everything else. And I feel like the
exactly.
Blurple is the deck that can provide that, really, that good matchup
Yep,
spread.
yep. I mean, the one of the reasons to play Blurple originally was that it had a more polarizing matchup spread compared to all the other purple decks,
Hmm.
right? Because like if we look back in the past, like red purple was pretty flat, 50%, almost 48% against everything. Purple steel kind of the same thing, doesn't have no bad matchups, but no great matchups either. Um, I guess green purple was a little bit more polarizing, but like it also had a fairly even matchup spread, except for against
Hmm.
Sapphire Steel back in the day. That was terrible.
Yeah.
um, but apart from that, like you had relatively even spreads. But then historically, Blurple was always like the purple deck to beat all the other purple decks,
Yes, that was what I was told for a
right?
while.
Because
Yeah.
right, because you ramp, you do the purple things faster than all the other purple decks, and it still is to a degree. Um, but yeah, like you still have, so the point is just like that's the reason why people got into Blurple to begin with, for those more favorable matchups against certain things.
Hmm.
But in order for Blurple to get because like if we remember set 6, right, that's when Blurple really started to take off and people started to pick it up. Pandemonium Heart did really well at North
Hmm.
American Continentals with it, top 16, right? That's when like Blurple really started to take off, because Blurple at the time originally was very good into purple and very good into all the red decks,
Hmm.
because you could just outgrind and just keep grinding all the red decks forever. Because like back in set 6, red blue was still the big bad, right? Of the format,
Hmm.
like whereas like no one wants to play this. But Blurple is like, well, I can rant with you. I'm never behind on ink, and I can keep up with your card draw because of all the ink I have.
Hmm.
Right. So it was like one of the best decks, in my opinion, to counter all the shark decks at the time,
Hmm.
because you had the Hades, you had all the infinite card draw essentially.
Yeah.
But now, ever since ever since the Hiram ban in set 7, you kind of had to retool the deck, because now there's a lot more steel in the meta, and just playing like rabbit, snake, and all that kind of stuff doesn't really cut it against the steel decks,
Hmm.
because now you're ramping, but you're not really taking much advantage of the ramp anymore.
Hmm.
So that's why like purple, long story short, kind of looks the way it is now. So you sacrifice some of that red matchup, some of the purple matchups, so it's not like heavily favored to like
Hmm.
slightly favored, but you now have a flatter spread against all the steel decks.
Yeah, I find that all really interesting. Sort of the lifespan of a deck. The only thing I really know is Sapphire Steel sort of lifespan, but I like it when you go into
Yeah,
like any of the like deck chats on any of the servers, and there's wait,
yeah.
yeah, this is why this is this way, and then you have someone who comes in and
Mhm.
completely wants to change everything. But yeah, I'd really like the Ruby Sapphire Shark matchup. I think Blurple is the more favored deck in it, but every time I
It's
played it, it always
fun
felt
matchup. It's like back and forth,
yeah.
right?
I've always felt like it's
Yeah.
like a big game of chess, and it almost
Mm,
feels like that's like I know I always hype up aggro decks and I like to win quick, but when
mhm.
I get to play that at a high level, I really enjoy it. It's so back and forth. It's so much of a
Mm,
resource war. One wrong
mhm,
card, like one wrong Hades, or not holding cards for
mhm.
mana, like. I played into someone who went fully in on B prep double mana, and I used Monstro to take out the 2 manas. And you know, my hand was dead as well, but it was like they were down to 1 card. You could clearly tell they'd gone completely in on these 2 manas surviving. So I really love the in depth on that. And it's back in the the way that ramping decks work is for the first few turns you kind of just don't do much until
basically.
Yeah, and I mentioned it in my guide as well. The way that Blurple feels is you're on autopilot until about turn 4. There is some like preferences, and there is some things like in a Diablo matchup you might want a Genie over anything else, or an Elsa. But most games, you know, it's probably the best deck to mulligan blind. You know, with Amber Steel, it's like I would need these cards if I was in this matchup, but if I'm not, I'd need these. You know, if they're a green deck and I've kept 1 song, I could be completely out of this matchup. But Blurple is just ramp onto very, you know, go for the bell and then 4-drop Genie. Someone in the comments as well said 4-drop was Genie wasn't the best thing to play on 3, and that threw me for a loop. Because I thought, you know, replace a card in your hand. It's a 2 quester evasive. It's just a huge. That's what used to win the RP matchup, I thought, as well, because you just got to play a Genie.
I think it's
earlier.
very matchup dependent, though. Matchup dependent on where you want Genie. So, for example, something like Steel decks. Genie is probably your best 3-drop into Steel, because it's a little more resilient. It's probably not as good into red because it can just brawl you, right? Like red purple. Into green, like green purple is not that great. Like, so what happened was like Iago was printed.
Yeah.
And that ridiculous card, right? Like, well, for sure. Like when you're playing Steel, you're like, this card sucks. Like, why would anyone play Iago? But when you have Iago against any non-Steel deck, you're like, this card is actually broken.
Yeah, I remember the first time I played it, like I inked it every game because I've only really played Steel recently, and this card's terrible. And then I played it once, and I was like, what? It's just took out an entire like 8-cost Sisu and a Scrooge because I've healed it with a Porp, and it's still on board questing for 1. Like this card is just nuts. Yeah.
Like the non-Steel have like 0 ways to deal with it, and they have to like play like janky cards like Hypnotic Strength or not hypnotize. What is the green action?
There's improvise, and then there's
improvise. That's the one. Yeah. But it's like they have to like skew their deck just to beat an Iago, which is kind of speaks to how strong the card is.
Yeah. I didn't know if you'd ever thought of including those sort of. I don't know what the blue purple one would be, the equivalent of like improvise or something.
Hypnotic Strength.
Yeah, that is a purple card.
Plus 2 challenger. Yeah.
But it never feels great to play that. Like,
no, I think that's why I ultimately went with Anna's, and right now I'm experimenting with 4 Annas because if you get your Iago removed, at least Anna into an Elsa or something or Genie makes it so that you can still fight back. Against the evasives, because like against all the purple deck is all about like who can win the evasive battle, really.
Oh, those like quite critical turns where I've practiced the mirror as well, where it's using the Genie, using the Iago, and using Bell, and I guess Elsa as well to a bit of an extent, just effectively. Because once you win that evasive board, you know there's no way in for them, and they just sit on the board questing for like 2, 3, 4 lore a turn, and you just win off that. Which I'll admit, evasive wars is something I've complained about a lot. I never really liked it until I got to play Blurple, and it's very fun, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's like it's fairly skill intensive, and it's like a chess match, like you said, like with the evasive war. It's not like, oh, play the evasive quest. Like it seemingly looks like that, but really it isn't when you're in an evasive war. Like there's a lot of things that you have to consider, right? And like if you quest wrong, it's like you can just get punished by a bell and lose the game.
Yeah, as much as I said, I really think I like playing Genie on turn 3. If I play Genie on turn 3 and they play Iago, and even if I still don't quest, even if I still don't quest, they play the Elsa next turn, exert, and take it out, and I'd probably lost that game.
Over.
I've always found, because you play just sort of the value game a lot of the time because of your ramp. Sometimes, especially, I remember I did it against Ruby Sapphire items where yeah, it felt bad to play the genie, but it was just I'm not gonna win this if this goes on for too long. So I'm
Yep.
just gonna curve out two questers, and
Right.
just off the top go play goats, try bounce them.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I found the Ruby Sapphire items matchup to be a more I need to take the aggro route, which
Yep.
is interesting with the deck
Exactly.
that you can do that. You can just ramp, then play value, two questers and goats every turn.
That's why Genie is so good, in my opinion, in the deck. It's just like it draws cards and it quests for two.
Mm,
Like, what more do you want really from for this kind of deck, right? For a deck that's like for a blue deck that generally quests slower. For most blue decks, they're fairly slow in general, right?
mm.
Like that ramp, like a ramping blue deck is fairly slow. Like Sapphire Steel back in the day, or even Red Blue, like it's fairly slow in how they get lore. But it's like the purple side that allows you to go faster.
Yeah, yeah, it's the fun parts of Sapphire, but the busted cards in purple that just win you a game.
Yeah,
And yeah,
just mash them together,
yeah,
and you have the deck.
it was. I saw a lot of people mention as well, like why Blurple wasn't turning up in the Worlds event, and I think mainly that's because you would have been taking away two of the best colors that could fit into other colors, and you kind of just make your other two decks worse, I think, and that's why I'm saying because you get to the busted sapphire and the busted amethyst things. That's amazing in a
Yeah.
format when you're only playing one deck, but if you're taking amethyst that pairs well with almost every color in the game, I think, and you're taking sapphire that kind of really pairs well with only a couple. You would just skew your other decks and they'll just be not that great. I believe one person did play
Yep.
Blurple, so sorry, no offense to them. That was really
Yeah.
fun to watch on stream, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. And the other thing was like, people are like, oh yeah, if you bring Blurple to Worlds, you just ban the bad matchup like Amber Steel, like the wheel decks,
Mm,
right? But the issue was like everyone's playing like red blue items too. So now you have two bad matchups
mm.
that you can't ban both. So like
Yeah.
you got to win with Blurple against one of them, and like you said, you make the red pairing very bad.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
going red steel, red yellow, or red green.
You've
Like
literally taken the two colors that pair perfectly with red, and now you have to pair it with. And we saw like Vibbins and stuff do like red amber. That was really cool. But yeah, if
yeah,
you were doing a more traditional lineup like Ed did, you're kind of skewing your red pick. And also as well,
right.
Blurple has the strangest matchups into. I managed to play against Reese, who came second in Lille, and he was on the Oswald item
Mhm.
deck. And surprisingly, yeah,
Mhm.
unless you get the Elsa down to exert the Oswald, and also
Yeah,
by that time they might have had one, two, like triggers happen off the Oswald, and you kind of just have to
yeah,
pray they didn't get anything. If they get a workshop or a dime, you tend to just lose, and then you
lose.
have to Elsa take out an Oswald, and it feels so
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
So even like those, like if you were playing against someone whose matchups were, maybe Ruby Amethyst Shark, Oswald,
Hmm.
and then something. It's like I don't really know where I'm banning here because I'd either have to
Yeah,
play into Amber Steel, yeah. So but
yeah.
I think in the wider rooms the deck is just so well rounded that I'd suggest it.
Mm.
And if we had a DLC that was coming earlier, I'd love to take it at an event. I'm probably going to take it to Store Champs as well. I think it'd be
Yeah.
the one I'm suggesting is the best pick for Store Champs right now.
That or DKP.
That or DKP?
Yeah, in my opinion, I think those are like the two safest decks with like the flattest matchup spread
Oh
across the board.
yes, yeah.
Yeah,
For the flat, yeah, I kind of forget how flat DKP's one is as well. That's a really strong choice, but
yeah.
I just always never want to play Ruby Sapphire at
No,
all. Yeah, I don't want to
no,
have to
I
play those
refuse.
mirrors. Yeah, I refuse to play
Exactly.
that, but I'd agree. Yeah, those two, and then again, yeah, like you say, the matchup can feel like even on the draw as well. Sometimes it can feel like they're favored. So yeah,
Yeah.
those two are pretty good. But I was going to move on to just before we finish up, like, so yeah, we've got events coming out soon. I'll be attending as many as I can. I know you don't attend as many events, but
Hmm.
like you're just well known throughout the community. And I think it's
Hmm.
really awesome that whenever someone like does well at an event, they always give you a bit of a shout out. There's
Hmm.
always mentions the flower farm or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just think that's really awesome. Like your little community you've got there.
I think like I think that happens like if you are just a good human being and you're just honest, all like honestly, like a
Mm,
good honest human being, people will give you your praise.
Mm.
right? Like, because if you're genuinely like I'm sure you experience it too. If you're genuinely there to help people, to support people, right? Overall, like people are gonna give back,
Mm.
right? If they know that you genuinely are there to help them, versus if it's more like forced, it's kind of like anything. It's like when you go somewhere for a restaurant, they ask you for a review, or like you go somewhere like they ask
Yeah.
you to write a review. You're like, I don't know if I really want to write a review,
Yeah.
right? But if they kind of went above and beyond for you and you genuinely felt like they cared, you are more inclined to actually just do it out of goodwill,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like I think I feel it's more of the same thing. Like I don't ask anyone to do that, right? Like I don't ask anyone to just shout me out, do whatever. Like people do it out of their own free will and their own choice.
Mm.
So I think really it comes down to that, just people wanting to give back.
Yeah.
Um,
When I
yeah,
when I go to events and someone is playing in the same one as me and they've like made top cut or they're doing well, I root for them more than myself. Like if they're like, "Oh, I
yeah,
brought your list or I
yeah,
watched your videos," I'm like, "Yeah, no, I want you to win way more than I want me to win."
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
when we go to a store champs and there's someone still playing Kiwi, I was like, "No, I want you in the top cut rather than me
exactly.
bringing whatever deck I
Yeah,
brought that day." So yeah, and
yeah,
I think it's just really nice to all round just everyone's really nice in the community. And of course, we've had a bit of a reaction recently, but I still
yeah,
hope for all those great moments.
yeah. Well, like you've been around TCGs long enough, you play long enough, I've played long enough to know how um, negative and toxic communities
Mm.
can be, right? So
Yes,
that's
yeah,
why I'm just like that's why like I believe you believe it as well, I think, and I do it as well. It's just like we just need more positive people and voices in the game and the community because at the end of the day, like it's a game. Like all here to have fun,
mm.
right? Like it does get serious. Not saying it's not that serious, but still at the end of the day, if we take a look back at everything, how privileged are we to get to play a game that we love?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Not everyone in the world can say that, right? So if we take a look back, like yes, we can be upset, and yes, there are things like you mentioned, like the DLC announcements. Yes, like there are things we're not happy about, but if we take a step back, it's like there are bigger things in the world right now to complain about than the DLCs.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it was funny. I saw my friend last night who only really plays locally, and he was really excited to play
yeah,
the game again because he was like, "Oh, I'm not going to any DLCs anyway. The game looks really good right
yeah,
now." And it was
yeah,
like, "Oh wow, that was just really nice to hear some sort of
yeah.
positivity." And
Oh,
yeah,
for sure,
yeah,
for sure. Like even in my community itself, like yes, they were upset, but they're just like, well, at least we still get to play the game that we love,
mm,
and there's still rotation happening, and that's something to look forward to. There's always something to look forward to, right? Um, and yeah, like you were saying, you might not have seen me at a DLC. That's because you haven't. But I also am just like you. Like I want the people playing the decks or the people I've coached to win. Like I'm really rooting for them. I really want them to win. I
mm,
really want them to succeed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Out of all the like TCGs I've played, like I'm nearing 30 now. I'm only 27, but like in my entire life, I've always been
No.
around a TCG. And
Yeah.
and like yeah, like sometimes the community is just a bit sour, and there's sometimes a lot of
Mhm.
people who are just in it to shark. They don't cheer on someone when they
Yeah.
make the top cut. They're just in it for
Mhm.
themselves. Just really
Yeah.
sour environments before. But with Lorcana, it's
Yeah.
always been so community based, and like even in these lows,
Mhm.
this is what I really loved as well. Was even in the low where it's like 6 months without any information, PPG were firing off events over here in the UK. We had tons
Yeah.
as well. And what I really liked was the
Yeah.
community aspect of we're all coming together to make this thing that we love. And yeah, I remember over
Mhm.
the Worlds weekend, like I kind of shut myself off from Discords and Twitter because it was not that
Yeah.
positivity right now. And I'm
No,
not
it
saying
wasn't.
anyone's outcry is not valid. Like it's completely valid. If you're
Yeah.
upset, like you're allowed to
Yeah.
say that.
For sure.
But yeah, the
For
way
sure.
my brain was processing it, I was like kind of overwhelmed and not particularly happy. Like, oh no, my lovely community is upset. I don't I don't want to read any
Yeah.
of this anymore. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think it depends on the community that you follow. So from what I'm getting, because my community is not like all the super hardcore players, right? It's not like people that want to compete for DLCs only and make top cut, right? So what I've noticed in the very competitive space, there is a big uproar, and people are not happy, obviously, because there's only 3 DLCs compared to 5 or 6 that it was last year, right? But in the more casual space, they don't really care that
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
They do and they don't. They really don't, right? And like, so what I found in my community is like more the people who are playing more casually, who just like to go to locals, socialize, win a set champs kind of thing. Like, they're happy that they still get to play the game, right? So it's just like, I think it's very easy for us because we're more in the competitive space. It's very easy for us to, what's the word? Have our perspective a little bit jaded based on what we see, just because that's who we follow.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah. I always like to use Ali as a good example as well, because she hadn't played for season 1 of the DLCs. So for her, this is, maybe we were a bit spoiled with the first season because we got given
Probably.
quite a lot of stuff. Yeah. But she hadn't played. So of course, when they announced 3, she's just uber excited for it because she's never done 1 before. And I'm pretty sure there are other players out there as well who are just excited to go and play these events if they get the shot. So yeah, I think, yeah, it's a bit melancholy, it's a bit somber what the news, but it's also something.
Sure.
And but I never want to like not validate someone who's upset. You're welcome to be upset. And I've seen a lot say they want to play different games. You're welcome to play different games as well. Welcome to do whatever you want with your free time. But we're wrapping up to close to 50 minutes now. We've been chatting away. I think best to wrap up, because I think whenever I get someone on the channel, it's like I realize with Sapphire Steel and other players, I can just talk forever about Lorcana and stuff, and then sometimes I'll just be just be going over the same things and stuff. So I think it's a good time to wrap up there. We covered a bit of Blurple, which is what I really wanted to get on the channel, and then covered a bit of news at events and stuff. But yeah, is there any sort of shout outs you'd like to make? Anything else you'd like to say? Signing off notes?
Well, first, like, shout out to you, Adam, for having me on. Thank you for that. Of course, shout out to our friends at the SLTC for being a very good, very strong community to keep us all sharp. Practicing, right? It's how we get better. We push each other. Shout out to the Flower Farm as well for supporting me. I'm sure you feel the same way as well, right? Like, without the people that support us, like, we wouldn't be in this position that we are in. And I feel so fortunate to be able to be in this position to do these things, because I never thought this would be, I never imagined that this would happen or this would come up of it. It's not like, maybe you can relate. I don't think you started your YouTube and be like, oh, I'm just going to be this, this popular figure in Lorcana where people are just going to follow me, right? And listen to everything I say. But it's just like, yeah, you didn't start that and expecting it to happen, but it did happen. And like, I feel super fortunate that, for this game and all these things that have happened here. Right? Because it wouldn't have been possible without everyone's support.
I'm exactly the same. It's like when I get to do content creator stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, I forget that's what I do. Because when I started out, it was just someone asked for a Mulligan guide and I uploaded it, and kind of count my blessings every day that I get to do this that I love. And like, so I've played other TCGs, but never been in the community the way I have with this one. I completely understand when I say my opinions on things as well. They might be a bit different because I'm very fortunate to be in the position I'm in. But just very grateful for all of it as well. So that's a very, very good point. And do you
I think
also please go ahead. No, please, you first.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, the last thing that maybe we don't spend too much time on, but to touch on it briefly, is just like the topic of mental health in TCGs. Yeah, because not too many people know this. Well, now a lot of people are gonna know this, but there's a reason why you've never seen me at DLCs, right? And so recently, well, not recently, I've always struggled with it, but it became more prominent in the last few years. So I was officially diagnosed with agoraphobia, panic disorder, and anxiety disorder. And so going to like a large event like that would really stress me out and cause my anxiety to through the roof. And I would just be in a state of panic pretty much the whole day. And I wouldn't actually be able to enjoy my time and play there or as be at those events, right? Just because of that reason. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that also feel in the same way. Maybe they don't attend as many, even locals, or not, it doesn't have to be a DLC, right? They don't go because um, of their mental health, right? For whatever reason it might be, right? So my
Mm.
message is just like for those people like myself who are struggling a little bit, like there's still ways that you can be involved. There's still ways that you have fun and like continue working on yourself, because my plan is still to one day be at one. I'm just not in the mental space to be there yet, but I'm working on it. I'm seeing a
Yeah.
therapist. We're working on it. So hopefully one day I will see everyone and get to meet everyone in the community, because like everyone's so nice already online in the community. I can only imagine how you feel when people come up to you in person and talk to you and you get to really interact with the community in that way in real life.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's something that I would like to experience as well at one point.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, no, that's completely a good point. I think like in just all walks of life, like always mention about
Yeah.
mental health and different ways to
Mhm.
improve. And I did a video on depression very early on in my YouTube videos because I suffered horribly. Had to
Mhm.
go get professional help places. Just that depressed guy wouldn't really go outside. So I do
Mhm.
always love that. That's what TCGs give me, that I go outside. And if
Right.
anyone's seen me at events, like I might seem quite chatty, but I am a panicky
Mhm.
little mess inside as well. And if I've just
Mhm.
been O2'd by a daisy, triple daisy or something, I'm even more of a state. But yeah, I always like to try and appreciate the position I'm in, that I'm like grateful enough that people want to come and say hi or take a photo or sign a
Yeah.
card. Like I very much appreciate all that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly the same. When I was younger, I used to have quite a bit from agoraphobia. Like I wouldn't go out to birthday
Mm.
parties and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I can completely understand where you're coming from, and we'd hope to see you at an event. We'd love to see you at one. And the
For
environment
sure.
there is all great because you've got like the cosplayers as well. Everyone's quite
Yeah.
friendly. It's the whole Disney vibe.
For sure.
It's I've played lots of TCGs, but everyone's just so lovely at these events, and I think that's
Yeah.
maybe why as well everyone's a little bit sour that we haven't got more, because they just want more of them because they're,
Exactly.
they're such great things to,
Yeah. Everyone wants to meet their friends, right? Get
yeah,
together with their friends.
just
Yeah.
want to go out and see more. And
I get it.
yeah,
I get
uh,
it.
I know there's a few players as well. They've chatted to me who are sort of stuck at home and for whatever reason they can't leave the house.
Yeah.
Mental health or disabilities and stuff like that. And so I think it's completely relatable for everyone that try and get down to your locals or something like that can always be a challenge
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. Like it's the hardest thing. It's like I get it too. It's like for people who don't necessarily struggle with it, because like it's like to them it's just like, oh yeah, it's just another normal thing. But then it's just like for someone else it could be like, climbing a mountain, right?
mm,
So right, like because they don't get it, and there's things that we can do normally that other people can't do, but we don't get it, right? um so really it's just like that's also why I love the community, because like most of the time people aren't judging of why people don't do certain things. They're just
mm,
very accepting of the way people are, and that's what also I really like about the community. um
mm,
just like, yeah, well, that's where I struggle, like, like all of you guys, right? You're just like, it's unfortunate that you are struggling with that, but it's just like if you need anything, we're here. you know
mm. Yeah,
let me know if you need anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm always there if anyone needs to help out. And
Yeah,
I've
exactly.
always said, I guess not to have mental health, but like these DLCs, there's always an army of like dads who are at home and they just can't attend them, but they would just top cut all
That's
of these.
also me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was, I think I've said it about you and Dave, and people like they'd be able to, because back when we had an online client, you were all doing
Yeah.
very well on them, doing like well at all the events on there. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think, I mean, it'd be another like hour discussion about an online client if I mentioned one, but it'd be
Yeah.
amazing to see them
Let's
get
not
one.
go there.
Yeah, yeah, that would just be another hour on top, because of course that's just more accessibility, more access for
Yeah.
everyone. So that'd be amazing. But yeah, of course, the point on anyone struggling, like it's a card game we love and we love playing it, but of course, just human beings in general come first before any of that, and making sure everyone's fine. And to be honest with you, I've seen that a lot more in this card game than I've seen it anywhere else. So I really do appreciate the community on that one. But yeah, we're closing in on an hour. That was really good to cover that. I remember we mentioned we were going to cover it before the call started, and I couldn't get it. I guess it's really hard to organically get it to roll on to mental health. So very good for catching it at the end. But yeah, I know you got a Metafy, you've got the Flower Farm. Is there anything else you want to mention? And I think your guides are all free and everything, or everything's free, which is another thing to appreciate.
I mean, okay, well, I created the guides without going too long for free because people helped me when I first started this game for free. And I just want to give back to the community by doing it for free as well. That's why my guides are free. And also I wanted to level up everyone else's guides because I noticed that some of the guides are not like that in depth or up to like standard.
Yeah.
Right. So I kind of wanted to raise the bar of like what a guide should be like, right, for the people. Because like, sure, it's like $10, $15, not a lot of money for most people, right? But it's not about the money, it's more about the principle. It's just like, because in like my background's a lot in business too, right? So it's just like I can't in good faith sell something that I know I half-assed, right, and charge money, like people's hard-earned money for, right? So but yeah, like you can find me on Twitter, you can find me most on Metafy or on Discord, and if people have questions, feel free to ask. You can even comment in this under this video and I will try my best to respond to all the questions, if anything. Or if people want to DM me on Discord, feel free. If you want to message me on Metafy, feel free. My guides are free, and if you want to support me, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can subscribe to my Metafy and be part of the Flower Farm community.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah. So yeah, okay, I think we're going to sign off there, but I think that was really good. I hope everyone watching enjoyed that and got something from it. If not, Lorcana, if something else, there may be some nice little points in there. But there was, I learned a lot about Blurple as well. I always love learning the history of a deck. Like, where sometimes when you see it, you're like, why do you run this card? And then they go, oh, okay, that makes sense now. So yeah, just had a really good time. But I'm going to sign off there now and say bye, guys.